So in my previous video, I've talked about rhythm and counts, which was the 50% of understanding rhythm. In this video, I'll talk about time signature. So make sure to watch this video till the end. Hello guys, my name is Shubhodip Mondal and I'm a filmmaker and a guitarist. On this channel, I upload short films, music videos, photo and video editing tutorials, as well as detailed guitar tutorials. So if you are new here and are interested in any of these topics, then definitely consider subscribing by clicking on the big red subscribe button down there, and also click the bell icon next to it to turn on notifications so that you don't miss any updates whenever I upload a new video. So getting all those things out of the way, let's get started with the video. So you have to understand that music is not random and rhythm is also not random. In music, we tend to repeat things and we also repeat rhythms and counts. So in a 4/4 song, a count of 4 is repeated again and again. In a 3/4 song, a count of 3 gets repeated again and again. So if a song is in 4/4, then a single chunk of these 4 beats, which gets repeated again and again, is called a measure or a bar of music. Now, before trying to understand what time signature is, we have to understand note values. Note value simply means the duration of a note. In a 4 count, if a note is played at the first beat and is held for the entire duration of those 4 beats, then that note will be called a whole note. This is the US nomenclature. If you follow the British nomenclature, then it will be called a semibreve. These two are essentially the same things. You may follow one or the other. I follow the US nomenclature. So the duration of a whole note will be equal to the total duration of 4 beats. So in our example of 120 BPM, the duration of a whole note would be 2 seconds. Then comes a half note or a minim. You can understand by the name of it, a half note would be exactly half the duration of a whole note. So here our whole note was 2 seconds long, so our half note would be 1 second long. And you can see a whole note was taking up 4 beats, whereas a half note would take up 2 beats. Then the half of a half note would be a quarter note or a crotchet. So if you have a note for each beat, then you are getting 4 quarter notes or 4 crotchets. So the duration of a quarter note is equal to the duration of a beat. And in our example, the duration of a quarter note would be half a second, right? As simple as that. Now, similarly, if we move on further, then we get eighth notes. That's the half of a quarter note. If you move even further, you will get 16 notes, 32nd notes, 64th notes, and so on. You should also know about the dotted notes. The duration of a dotted note would simply be the duration of that original note plus half the duration of that particular note. So a dotted quarter note would be the duration of a quarter note plus half of that quarter note. So the duration of a dotted quarter note would be exactly equal to the total duration of a quarter note plus an eighth note. I hope you understand. Now let's try to understand time signature. So in a time signature, you usually get to see 2 numbers, one in the top and one in the bottom, and it's written as a fraction. You may find time signature written as this or even this. All are basically the same thing. Now you just have to understand what these 2 numbers signifies, and you will understand what time signature is and what are its functions. So we get 2 information from this. The top number tells us how many beats are there in a measure, and the bottom number tells us how long the duration of each beat is. So a 4/4 time signature means there are places for 4 quarter notes in each measure. You can think of it like 4 into a quarter, which means 4 quarter notes. Now you can fill this entire place with 4 quarter notes. Say we take only the E note, then it would sound like this. On each and every beat, we play a E note. We can take other notes as well, which will essentially create a different melody. For example, if we take G, A, and B on the second, third, and the fourth beat respectively, we will get a sound like this. If we have 2 measures of 4/4, then we can change a note in the second measure, and that will spice up our melody. For example, we can change the note on the 4th beat of the second measure from B to a D, and it will give us a melody consisting of 2 measures of 4/4, and it will sound like this. Now, it's not necessary to fill each beat with a quarter note only. This is the defined space you have in a measure, and you can fill it with any notes or even silences as long as this measure can contain all those notes. For example, If you put a whole note in a measure of 4/4, then that measure will be filled up with that whole note only, and it won't be able to contain any more notes, and you have to move on to the next measure. You can put 2 half notes instead of 4 quarter notes, and even then the measure will be filled up. You can put 1 half note and a half note rest. The difference between this and a whole note would be the whole note will remain sustained the whole measure, and in the case of the half note and the half note rest, the first note will remain sustained only for 2 beats and the rest of the 2 beats will be silent. So a whole note would sound like this, and a half note rest would sound like this. In both the cases, you're essentially getting 4 beats, which is a measure of 4/4 in 120 BPM. You can even put 2 dotted quarter notes, and you can see these two take up 3 beats, and you're left with a place for a quarter note only. And it will sound like this. Remember, this only gives you the rhythm. Once you start putting in notes, you will get the whole picture. In this example, if we take E for the first dotted quarter note, G for the second dotted quarter note, and A for the last quarter note on beat 4, then it would sound like this. Notice the second dotted note is on the offbeat of the second note, and it's completely fine as long as all the notes in your measure are equal to the length of the whole measure, which in this case is the total duration of 4 quarter notes. So you cannot fit in 3 dotted notes in a measure of 4/4, as the last note will bleed into the next measure. I hope you get my point. Now, if you have a 5/4 time signature, then you have place for another quarter note long beat in a measure. Now if we make a 5/4 time signature version of our previous example and put in a D sharp on the 5th beat, then it would sound like this. And this is in a 5/4 time signature. As simple as that. Now you can think of any number of possibilities to fill up the entire measure with different notes and rests, and you can easily create and play music on a 5/4 time signature pretty easily. And the same idea applies for 6/4, 7/4, etc. I'm pretty sure you have already figured those out. And as a last note, if the bottom number is anything other than 4, say 7/8, then it simply means you get a measure of 7/8 notes instead of 7 quarter notes. It simply means it's the double of a 7/4 time signature, provided the tempo remains the same. So you can fit in 2 measures of 7/8 inside a 7/4, or conversely, to fit in a music piece of 7/4, you will need 2 measures of 7/8. But before moving on, I would like to talk about Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community having thousands of classes in various creative fields, including photography, videography, music, arts and crafts, etc. So if you want to learn and develop a skill from the comfort of your home, you may want to check out Skillshare. I myself is a premium member of Skillshare, and I get to learn a lot of things from Skillshare which you wouldn't be able to find in YouTube. Especially if you are a beginner and you want to develop a skill, then it is very hard to learn that skill from YouTube, because you don't get step-by-step videos in YouTube, and you have to watch a lot of videos before being able to get a grip on this subject. So I'll highly recommend you, if you're interested in learning and developing new skills, then definitely join Skillshare. And I'll leave a link in the video description below, and if you join through my link, then you will get premium access for absolutely free. So definitely grab that offer and start learning from today. And if you like their service, you may continue after this period, which I'm sure you will. And if you're interested in specifically learning guitar online, then I'll recommend you to check out Jamplay instead. Jamplay is a dedicated site for guitarists, and they have a lot of celebrity guitar teachers whom you can learn from. So if you're interested in learning guitar online, then you should definitely check out Jamplay. I'll leave a link to Jamplay as well in the video description below, along with a coupon code which will get you a huge discount. So make sure to check the video description below for all the links. So that was time signature. It becomes more important when you try to write music in a sheet of paper to convey your ideas to other musicians. Or if you're trying to learn or play other people's music by reading from a sheet of music, then you have to understand what time signature is. Now, when you are playing, you should be more concerned about the upper number, which is the number of beats in a measure. If you're trying to play with a metronome, then also you have to be concerned about the upper number only, which is the count or the meter of the music. Now, time signature can be in any form. It can be in fractions, decimals, or anything you can imagine in between. But for convenience purpose, sometimes we tend to take regular numbers as our time signature while writing our music. For example, if you try to write a piece of music which is actually in 7.5 meter, then it would be better to take your time signature as 15/8. Otherwise, you have to mention the time signature as 7/4, then 1/8, then again a 7/4, and then again a 1/8, and that becomes cumbersome. So instead of that, it will be easier for you to consider the time signature as 15/8. But if you have watched my previous video, then you know that a 7.5 is not the same as 15, but you can interchange these ideas as long as you know the difference. So that was it for time signature and rhythm. If you have watched both my videos on rhythm, then I'm pretty sure that now you have a strong understanding of rhythm and you'll be able to play in any rhythm and time signature pretty comfortably. And if you have any further queries, you can put them in the comment section below and I'll try my best to solve your queries. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and also share it with your musician friends whom you think will get benefited from this video. So that was it for today, guys. I'll see you in the next video.